the meeting to order. Thanks everyone for coming. It's exciting. We're here today to approve the 100%, or from the Bond Commission to approve the City Walk. So from Lenore Ryan over to 9th Street. And we are also going to introduce new members because we have some new members joining us. So if you're here and I call your name, will you stand up so people can see who you are? We have Eric Brandon, who's joined the Riverwalk. And thank you. Hold your applause until the end, please. Just kidding. Emma Lale, Riverwalk. Matthew Maldine, Riverwalk. Lots of Riverwalk. Jim Rogers, Riverwalk. Dan Chapaldine, Riverwalk. Walter Smith, City Walk. Thank you. Lisa Swenson, City Walk. Yeah. And Bob Warnerth, Riverwalk. Are you not? Now? Okay, and Meg Leo, City Walk? Yeah. All right. And so we're excited to have y'all on board. New ideas, new blood. No yellow clap. And we need to approve the minutes from November 2nd. Everyone should have a... Done. All right. Oh, what do I vote? Is everyone in favor of approving the minutes? Okay. Anyone opposed? Okay.
There was a motion by Clipper, second and a second by Mike Holmes. Hi everyone, for those of you that are new, my name is Yade Fox. I am the assistant to the city manager. I work with the Bond Commission, so hello if I haven't had a chance to meet with you, and hello to everyone that I do know. Just wanted to say a quick hello before we turn things over to Frieza Nichols, who's our consultant working on the bond program with us, and city staff, and of course always working on it as well is our assistant city manager Rick Beasley, and I'll have him to come up here in just a second to introduce himself, because many of you have not had a chance to get to know him either. He's come on board very recently. Of course, Kyle Butler is here. There he is. You all know him. Many of our department heads are here as well. Most of them are all working on this, and certainly always concerned and always trying to keep them updated. I am going to pass out, while other people are talking, our update list. If you don't mind to just take a look at it, if you see your information on there is incorrect, if you don't mind to just let us know, hand it back over to Daisy. She's our clerk for this board. If for some reason it's correct, go ahead and just hang on to it, because it's free for you anyway, because we want to make sure that you all know what commission you're on and who's on the same one with you. And if you ever have any questions, you've gotten emails from me, you know how to get a hold of me. If not, I'm in the city manager's office. Thank you.
I've met a lot of you. I hope some of you I've known from when I was here the first time, but I'm really excited about being in part of Hickory and really excited about this process. I just moved from Atlanta, so I saw some of the Beltline project get built in Atlanta. So what y'all have embarked on here is really exciting for the city. I think you're really going to have positive benefits because of it, economically and other reasons. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Morgan and Charles to start talking about what we're doing here today for City Walk.
Good afternoon, everybody. Can you hear me okay? Yeah. I'd rather not stand by the mic. I like to move around a little bit. I was going to ask somebody to move to one side, but I'm not going to do that. Probably would take up too much time. Again, I'm Charles Archer with Frieza Nichols, and we're an extension of the city staff, helping them with this bond program. We've worked with the Bond Commission off and on now since 2015. And I think the last meeting that I did with the full commission was last June. So I haven't seen some of you since last June, so it's good to see you and Happy New Year. As Rick and Yade said, we're going to focus today primarily on City Walk. That doesn't mean the other projects are not moving along. They are. But we're going to try to get City Walk ready to get out to bid and get construction going there. So we're going to focus on that. And some of the points I'm going to make today, some of you probably have heard them several times now, but we have several new members here. So it's important to try to, we can't catch you up of 3 years of history all at once, but to understand how we got where we are today and why is important. Particularly with the City Walk project, because it's essentially, the design is essentially finished. It's too late to make significant changes. And so that's kind of the bottom line. So feel free to ask questions along the way. And so we're going to try to run through this quickly and get you all out of here by 2 o'clock. But we appreciate you coming this afternoon. And so let me just start here. So here's what we're going to talk about in the next few minutes. Kind of review the process of how these projects work between the subcommittees, the bond commission, the city council, the designers, etc. As we are not the designers. There's separate design firms that have been hired. We work kind of a bridge between the city staff, you, and the designers to keep information flowing, keep the projects moving, etc., so that they can accomplish revision. We're going to talk about changes from City Walk. The last time the City Walk subcommittee saw them, they saw them last week, but prior to that was last fall. So the changes that occurred between last fall and last week, we went over with the committee last week, and we'll go over some of those with you today. And then we'll talk about next steps going forward over the next few months of what's in store for the bond commission. So this is just a graph that shows the process. Now, as you know, the bond commission's 42 members divided up into 3 subcommittees around City Walk, Riverwalk, and the streetscapes and gateway are combined into one committee. And so the subcommittee's responsibilities are to focus on their projects, to really get down in the weeds with the designers. That's not the full bond commission's process necessarily. Those of you that were at the June 2017 meeting, we talked about this process of how it should work and how you should trust one another. That doesn't mean you have to give carte blanche to what the subcommittee says. The bond commission doesn't have to give carte blanche to what the subcommittee says. The city council doesn't have to give carte blanche to the bond commission. We all have different responsibilities. But it's an iterative process of working with the designers, the subcommittee, the full commission, and the city council. It goes round and round. That's part of the reason why this process is taking so long. If I said last week to the subcommittee, if it were just me, if I owned City Walk, I could have had the design, probably you'd be walking on it today, because I can make all the decisions. This is a collaborative process. It's not just you as the bond commission, it's the whole community that it represents. So it takes a little bit longer to get through this process. And so this just outlines the process that goes back and forth. End of the day, the city council, they write the checks, they pay the bills. They're the ones that make the final decisions. You're here to advise them. Subcommittees advise the bond commission advises the council, and the council pays the bills. This is a slide that shows the City Walk process. And there are 3 key reviews for each subcommittee on their projects. 30% review, that's early on. What's the alignment going to be? What are the overall concepts and vision for the project? You can shape what's happening more then. 60%, you pretty much have the alignment established. You're beginning to see more of the details, the artistic elements. And by 60%, you pretty much nail down what you're going to do. And between 60 and 90 are the final plans. It's really getting all the details in place. So this top graph in the top right-hand corner shows the relationship between input and information from your role as a subcommittee members and as bond commission members. So the deeper you get into the process, you have less input, because as of today, it wouldn't make a lot of sense to change the alignment of City Walk today. The design firm has invested months and months and months of time and effort getting it designed. It would cost more money, it would cost more time to get the project done. So you can't make significant changes the deeper you get into this. So it becomes more informative for you, but you have more input on the early part of the process. So any questions about that, how that process works? And essentially the same for all the projects, 30, 60, and final plans. With the subcommittees review, recommend to the full bond commission. The full bond commission then recommends to the city council. So what we're hoping for today, the subcommittee last week made a unanimous recommendation, you'll hear that in a few minutes, to the bond commission to proceed with the design, with the bidding of City Walk. And that recommendation hopefully will come to you, to the city council in March. So questions? All right, Morgan's going to go over the changes that have taken place with the design of City Walk from last fall to now, and some of the other updates that you need to hear about. And then I'll come back and talk about process moving forward.
All right, hi guys. So, City Walk updates. We're going to talk today about Union Square, the progress that we've made with the railroad, the section from 4th to 9th that we've added to City Walk, and the bid alternates. So this is the major change from 60% to now, is that your role as a bond commission is to talk to the community and the public about what's happening, gather input and bring it back. And at the 60% stage, we heard from the community and from a lot of you that Union Square really had a lot more stakeholders that wanted to give input. At that point, we decided to stop and really concentrate on getting further input from those stakeholders. The main part of City Walk, though, what we're calling the spine that runs from Lenore Rhine all the way to 9th, has DOT funding attached to it, and we're able to fast track that. So we're trying to get that out to bid as fast as possible and still allow for stakeholders to have input on Union Square. So we're going to break that up into 2 bid packages. The first bid package is the spine that we're fast tracking, and the second bid package is Union Square, which includes Union Square and the restrooms and the artwork and the arbors and some of the things that we didn't necessarily want to design up to federal standards because the DOT funding is involved in the spine. So those are the 2 bid packages that we're moving forward with. Are there any questions about that before I move forward?
Can I just say?
Yeah, absolutely.
We're not fast tracking the design of the spine. We're not going to let that portion be delayed by the stall right now with Union Square. So that's, yeah.
How does it work in with the 4th to 9th?
4th to 9th is part of the spine, and it is,
But Morgan, it might be good just to, so everybody understands on that slide there, the part that is Union Square that we're going to slow down and get more stakeholder input is just the area that is inside the bold red line. Everything outside the bold red line to the south of it, all the parking and the walk itself is part of what we're proceeding forward with.
very good point, yeah. All right. So our progress that we've made with the railroad, I'm sure you guys have all heard rumblings about what's going on with the railroad, so we wanted to give you an update on that. The railroad has a pretty narrow right-of-way through most of the City Walk project. And then right here at 3rd Avenue, it expands out to a 200-foot right-of-way, which encompasses the entire road, both sides of the road, all of the sidewalk, and it's just for 950 feet. And it's just in that 950-foot section that the railroad, after we got their buy-in through the concept level, they actually gave us letters of endorsement for the Tiger Grant. And once they saw the design and saw what we were doing in this 950-foot section, they said, let's slow down and look at that for a minute. So we did. We slowed down and looked at it, and ultimately the result was just to move City Walk from the south side of the road, closest to the railroad tracks, to the north side of the road. And so that's what we've done through this 200-foot section. You can see this dark black dashed line at the top. That's the railroad right-of-way line. So it's all the way up on the north side of everything. So the top picture is the older design with the City Walk on the south side of the road. And the bottom picture is the new design with the City Walk on the north side of the road. And And that's what the railroad asked us to do, and that has allowed us to further negotiations with the railroad. And then it, of course, continues up to Mill Line. Are there any questions on that section? Okay, so the other thing that we did is we added in the 4th to 9th piece. So originally, City Walk stopped at 4th, and we have since gone and added from 4th to 9th because of the DOT funding. The DOT funding is what allowed us to add that piece to this project. So I know it's really hard to see here. We have brought a strip map that you guys can look at afterwards if you'd like to, but it's just a continuation of City Walk. With this spine portion of City Walk, this first bid package, DOT funds certain things and they don't fund other things. So we took the big items that DOT is not funding and we decided to put them in as alternates. So when we bid out a project, you have a base bid and then you have these alternates. And alternates are things that you may or may not proceed forward with whenever you award the contract to the bidder. And right now, everything's in budget, but we wanted to look at these alternates and have the option of changing things around in case things came in over budget. So last week with the City Walk Subcommittee, we reviewed these alternates, and I'm going to run through them right quick with you guys so that you're familiar with what they are. And then we'll discuss them again after we run through them all. So of course we've got the iconic bridge arches down at 127. So DOT pays for a basic chain link fence. So we are definitely having a fence along the railroad, but in the base bid, we've got this basic chain link fence, and as an alternate, we've got an upgrade to this pretty wrought iron fence. These two are also upgrade alternates. So in the base bid, what DOT funds is a concrete retaining wall and regular benches. And our alternates are to upgrade to this pretty facade that we've been talking about for months for the retaining wall and the pretty stone benches that we've been talking about too. That kind of give City Walk a more unique feel. The wayfinding signs are an alternate. So these are the really fancy, pretty signs that are going to be buried all along City Walk. The medallions, these are the ones that are going to be along City Walk in the pavement that give you little bits of history and fun facts about Hickory as you go along City Walk. The sidewalk pattern color upgrade, so DOT of course pays for sidewalk. It will be regular concrete sidewalk. And then this is the alternate to upgrade that to the pattern and color that we've been looking at for a few months. And then City Walk is all continuous along the north side of the railroad tracks. There's two sections that it's located on the south side of the railroad tracks. So the first section is right here. This is west of the Hickory Tavern Station between 3rd and 4th Street. And then this section is where Transportation Insights and the U-Haul places. It's south of that weird intersection that we're turning into roundabout. So those are our alternates. We went through all of those and discussed those in detail last week with the City Walk Subcommittee. And we gave them the opportunity to rank those so that those rankings could go forward when the bids came in. If we did have to cut something as guidance to City Council of what they felt like was the highest priority as far as these alternates go. And this is how that ranking came back. So iconic bridge arches, of course, are the most important. The second most important would be the railroad fencing upgrade, and then the retaining wall facade upgrade. The wayfinding signs, the sidewalk pattern color upgrade, and the seat wall upgrade tied for 5th place. And then they rank the medallions, and then last are the 2 south side sections. Are there any questions about this?
All of these are still within budget, right?
Still within budget. This is just if the bids come back high, what are we gonna do? Any other questions?
Does the bidder forego the DOT funding if they choose one of these alternates? Or do they get the DOT funding plus whatever the other funds cover the difference?
Yeah, we get DOT funding for our DOT items regardless, and that's all in the base bid. And then bond funding is covering, there's a DOT match, there's a 20% match, so bond funding is covering the match as well as the alternates.
What happens to the roundabout if the budget is too high, which is number 8, right?
No.
No, the roundabout is on the north side of the tracks. It's in the base bid. It's being done no matter what. Anything else?
Yeah, I mean, I just want to make sure everybody understands what alternates mean. I mean, how do you say it otherwise? It's the non-DOT items, amenities.
So, one point that was made at the subcommittee meeting was that it's essentially just a way to put a separate price tag on these items so that we can prove to DOT that we're not using their money to pay for the things
That's right.
that are upgrades. And so we get a separate price, so in case something is way above budget, we can take it out of it.
Right. All right. Well, with that, I'll turn this back over to Charles to talk to you about the next steps.
Thanks, Morgan. So the subcommittee met last week on the 20th, and their unanimous recommendation to you all as a full bond commission is to recommend to the city council to proceed with the 2 separate bid packages, as Morgan just explained, with the bid alternates as well, the Spine and Union Square. Proceed with the Spine ASAP, essentially. And Union Square will come back with a stakeholder process and get that into design, finished up, and the bidding this summer, hopefully. So that's the recommendation with these changes, updates, and Morgan just gave you. So are there questions about what the recommendation is to you all today to recommend to the city council? Or concerns? Assuming you all are good with it today, then it would go to the city council in March. It also has to go through getting final DOT approval, final approval from the Highway Administration, Federal Highway Administration, and certifying the right-of-way to DOT, because we're spending DOT money on this project. The bids will be advertised in May for the contractors to submit their bids, which will be open in June. And hopefully the council will be able to award a contract in June with notice to proceed construction in July. So the construction will begin on City Walk in July. So that's kind of the schedule with City Walk from here to there. And then parallel to that process will be the stakeholder engagement process on the design of what happens inside that red area, Union Square, what those changes might look like from that. The questions, now's your chance.
I have a question about the stakeholder and getting those people together, and getting, who are those people going to be, and how do you determine that you're going to be able to meet everybody's desires, so to speak, or how are you going to get that input, I guess?
All right, let me say this. No one will be able to meet to check off everybody's boxes.
Right.
All of you probably don't agree on everything. This is about trying to get consensus on what's most important. They're going to go through a process. I don't know what that process is yet or who's actually leading it yet. But for those of you that were on the bond commission a couple years ago when we went through, you had $80 million worth of projects and only $35 million. You know, a process of coming together and reaching consensus that makes sense. Everybody didn't get what they wanted that night necessarily, but you found the sweet spot. So to go through a process. for something like that, of getting input. And it's pretty standard in our world of designing public infrastructure, particularly something like this, of getting input from the merchants on Union Square, the businesses downtown, and you all, the citizens as a whole, that will get to use these amenities as well. Everybody has a stake in it. And we're not going to make everybody happy, to try to get consensus on what's going to be best for Hickory. That answer your question? Thanks.
Just for clarity, although today we're talking about the City Walk spine ending on 9th Street, we are still planning on connecting City Walk to Riverwalk.
Yes, that's next. That's another streetscape project. Go down the Old North Road. Yeah, yep. That's a whole separate project to come a little bit later on. Good question.
And so I think it would help if you elaborate on the meetings that you and the city have had with the Downtown Development Association. And so hearing their comments, so ultimately, we've had their comments, we'll take those into account. And so our role as a bond commission will be to kind of vet those comments and then submit those to the design firm. And then from there, we'll come back ultimately for our approval, and then from the whole entire commission approval, and then the city council. But that's kind of where we've been.
There have been at least 2 meetings. I think Ernie has facilitated both of those, and I attended the one last night, of getting input from the downtown businesses on Union Square. I would expect that there's going to be another process. That's not the end of getting input from the folks on Union Square and downtown. There'll be continue to get input to be able to get the designs to satisfy as many people as possible. Allison?
Just as a private citizen and bond commission member, I think it's super important to hear that input from the downtown businesses, but also to remember as a commission that Union Square is really for the whole city. It doesn't belong just to those businesses. So I think if we're going to take a huge chunk of input from them, we need to make sure that we also provide an opportunity, that we really are doing a stakeholder conversation, maybe provide another open opportunity for the public to speak on what would bring them downtown, so that a couple of voices are heard, so that we're not just kind of tracking in one direction.
Exactly, that's what I was trying to describe earlier, a stakeholder engagement process. And stakeholders means anybody that has an interest in it.
Right.
You might live on the other side of town and you just shop downtown or whatever, just to get that input.
Do we know yet what the separate budget is going to be for the downtown part? Because we had a whole budget for the whole thing, and now we're doing one end on one side and another end on the other side with a hole in the middle, and that's going to cost some money.
I think so.
Well, there will be a connection, a path will still connect, right?
Oh, yeah, the path. Yeah, the whole is in the budget piece. Eight?
Yeah, I don't know the exact number, but the idea is once you bid the spine, you'll know how much money you have left. The bond money that's currently involved, so you can do downtown. But I think originally it was $800,000 or $900,000.
So is the downtown area actually number 9 on that alternative list? Because if we spend all the money on the spine.
They're two separate. There'll still be improvements to Union Square. We just don't know what they look like yet or how much they cost yet.
Right, and then will that then affect what of the 8 alternatives get done, depending on how much money Union Square is going to cost?
It's possible.
Okay, that makes sense.
Again, until we open bids, that right now in the construction world, it's a lot of work out there, and contractors are busy, materials are going up. So we don't know until we open these bids. We try to predict.
So we will bid downtown before we make final decisions on the 8 alternatives.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. That's part of that process. We bid the spine, open them up, see what the number is. Is it over? Then you got to make some changes. If it's not over, no big deal. Makes it easy.
I think that question might have been misunderstood. Did you ask if we were going to bid the downtown piece package, the second package, before we decide on the alternate?
Correct.
Oh, no,
I
I'm
don't
sorry.
think that's true.
So then there's going to be a separate budget for downtown?
Yes.
No matter what?
Yeah, they'll be separate, handled as a separate project. but parallel to this process with the spine.
And originally, we had a budget for the whole thing, so I'm assuming that downtown portion has been now taken out of the budget for the spine.
Yes, sir.
I got you, that sounds
Okay.
And part of the reason for that.
Well, that makes perfectly good sense, you have to do it that way.
Well, the other thing is the spine had the 80-20 match in
Right.
DOT. This has no match. This is all bond fund, which is downtown. So that's where the difference is.
Right.
So do we have any idea yet on the spine, as we bid it out, where and what will take precedent, move first?
Yeah.
I mean, you don't build the whole spine.
On construction sequencing?
Yes, right.
We don't know right.
We don't know
at
that.
this point in time. You know, there's got to be consideration has to be given, particularly to Union Square, the parking lot improvements. Because if you go back,
They changed.
to this picture here, there's going to be new construction of parking spaces here, losing spaces that are parallel now next to the railroad tracks, and this whole parking lot will be resurfaced. So the time that's got to be coordinated when you're not having your community events, likely going to be next winter, after the Christmas shopping season, et cetera. But all that'll be worked out in the construction documents with the contractors. To think through the impacts of the community as well.
A little clarification on the downtown area. There was a comment made a while ago about it's not just the downtown merchants, it's everybody. And along that line, the merchants who developed the survey for the merchants to give to their customers about what they like about downtown and what they don't like. So we're hoping to get more encompassing feedback from that. And I don't know.
It'll come back around.
So how long will the delay be talking about in this downtown area?
We don't know until we get the bid documents ready and get the bids in from the contractors. And we don't know what we're going to try to minimize what the impacts are going to be to the downtown merchants. Again, trying to avoid the seasons where you have the festivals and where you have the heavy shopping times, the holidays. Try to do it this time of year, next year, those parking lot improvements.
But is it a goal to get Union Square done get started by next winter?
Possibly. We don't know yet until we get into that process, because we don't know what it is yet.
The other thing I could remember, it would appear from initial discussions and everything that the revised downtown will be much less expensive than the original.
So the hang up is what, still a tree? That was one problem. There's a couple things now, still a bunch of stuff now, what, the veteran stuff and all that.
A good way to look at it is forget what you've seen today. We start with a blank sheet of paper. So we'll start from there. You got all the stakeholder input.
Right. Because again, for me, man, we're still dealing with this side, still on this side of town. The longer we deal with that, the sort of we're gonna get to the other side, which is where my real investment is for the people that I represent. You know, the longer we keep building on this side, building everything on this side, how soon we gonna get to that side? You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
So it's still encompassing the whole city. And there's another whole part of the city that's still being overlooked the longer we deal with just this side of the city.
Yes.
So you're gonna aggressive with one, and you're gonna take forever with the other.
But it doesn't completely, if the Tiger, I know it's an if always, but
Right.
Tiger grant comes through, then Bookball, what was called that unit, connected, is connected in that, because it's included in that. And,
Yeah, I would say you can have all three subcommittees working at the same time. You can have Riverwalk, Streetscapes is what you're talking about, and this one, so they all can be working at the same time and come back. So I don't think we'll slow that project down for that.
To clarify a point I made, when I said forget what's been designed, it's what's been designed up to this point, this new for Union Square. The improvements that are there today, like the sales, doesn't mean they go away. It means what AMEC, your designer, has propose a date, just forget about the trees, forget about the grass, forget about the steps, all that other stuff, the whirly gigs or whatever they are. So we'll start a process with a blank sheet of paper. What do y'all want to see? What do you like? What don't you like? And what do you want to see?
So, but what I'm saying then is that you just went through this thing about 30, 60, 100, and we all be all about 60 on that as well. So now you're gonna go back to 30?
We're going back to 0.
Okay.
On the
What's the cost of Union Square?
Union Square.
On the Union Square. I'm talking about Union Square.
0 is my understanding. The cost impact of the design is just gonna have to be zero.
Just the time.
Right.
This time.
Is there, one last question for me. Ernie, is the city working with you in the business association?
Oh, yeah.
No, I knew they are, but I mean, to make sure that the survey and other things and what Allison is trying to get out about community involvement here is out clearly to people who know it's there. The only way they would, you wouldn't want I know it's going to be more than this, but the only way anybody would know about it is walk into the business. If I know, that's what I'm asking. Is there efforts? Goes back to the question that has to do with communicating our.
I think it's in the early stages of development. That's a good point.
Yes.
Are there other questions about what the recommendation is to you all today, which is to recommend to the city council to proceed with advertising the construction bids for the spine?
So moved.
Second.
A motion? Second. Any further discussion on the motion? All in favor of the motion say aye. Aye. All opposed to the motion say no. Unanimous. Thank you.
Can I just ask one quick thing? Because someone in that commission, Tiger Grant, there's a few new faces in the room, so for those of you who don't know what the Tiger Grant is, and I want to keep things in, of course, to you, but so the Tiger Grant is a federal application grant program. It's nationwide, and so the city of Hickory actually applied for it already. We just submitted it for $9.7 million. It's actually different components that actually provides regional connectivity, all of which connect in some way, shape, or form to the city block. So that being said, one of them is the book walk, which Cliff had mentioned earlier. So just trying to give you a little bit of perspective. Certainly I'm available afterwards if you have additional questions. I just wanted to, in case someone was like, what is that? I just wanted to let out.
And hope to know an answer about the Tiger Grant application anytime now, the next few days or
They did tell
weeks.
me the other day it would be any day that they should be making announcements.
Please let us know.
Yeah.
And so that really does change the game for a lot of opportunities. And there's some other DOT funding pots that the city's looking at applying to supplement the funds. It's done a really great job up to this point of leveraging the bond funds for more funds from other places. On the next step, the last thing, Bond Commission will probably have another meeting, or will have another meeting probably in late June. We don't know the date yet, where you'll get updates on the Riverwalk project, which is now between 30 and 60% design, and moving forward with the streetscapes. But finding out about the Tiger Grant really affects the schedule and what can and can't be done. So we're waiting for those answers to see what happens next with the schedule. So that's what's going
And
on.
possibly while we're all here, can you give us an idea of where we are on Riverwalk and what's next? Sure. Just since the whole committee's here.
Sure. I'll do my best, and Morgan, correct me when I get it wrong. The 30% design has been taken to the subcommittee, and the focus has been on near the 321 bridge with the iconic bridge walkway out over the lake there, and the tie back into that. So they're somewhere between the 30% and 60% of the design now, all that, and looking at the different options and refining the costs for those options as we move forward. And doing the geotech work, all the stuff that goes along with that, because that's a fairly complex project given the topography that's there, the water, etc. So that's about the gist of it, isn't it?
And the other one is the gateway, but we did talk about that.
Sure. I'll add.
All right, so the 32170 gateway, that also came before all of you and went before city council. That has been prepared and being formalized to get final approval from DOT because it's in their right of way. So that, once that's approved from DOT, then we're able to start the bidding process on that as well. Our timing will probably be very similar to what to what Charles was saying. There'll be a lot of things happening probably simultaneously over the next several months.
Y'all spent a lot of time planning and talking and thinking and dreaming the last couple, 3 years. And the next coming months, you'll begin to see that come to fruition of getting things under construction.
What's the time frame to get to 60% of the road?
Do you know, Morgan?
Yeah, it should be the next few months.
The question was, time frame for 6% on Riverwalk, probably in the next few months. Don't know exactly for sure yet.
Are we just waiting on the designers or really the geotech stuff?
Well, that informed what the designers can and can't
That's
do.
what I want, yeah.
Yeah.
There was a 50-foot setback requirement at the lake, river edge. Is that still an issue, or is that?
That's part of what's been somewhat of a game changer with that project. The riparian buffer requirements are no longer there. They got repealed last year. And so that affects how it can be designed, so it's being reevaluated. That's one of the reasons for that. Good point.
Well, is that, this is not bad, is that 50 foot repeal, is that all over the lake?
Yes, sir.
It's just the
It's a publicly owned property, not the privately held property. Okay. Thank you.
I just wanted to also recognize, there were several bond commission members that are rolling off, and we want to, as a commission, thank those for serving over the last couple of years. Hanny was here. Thank you. Is anyone else here that's been rolling off? All right, well, thank you for your hard work. And also I want to name correction, Meg Nealon. Thank you for joining us here. And also I want to let everyone know Catherine Rogers, one of our members, had her baby on Monday. It's a little girl, Rose Decker Rogers. So, anything else? Meeting is adjourned.
All right.